For months now, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema have been duking it out in the, I guess, a season of the USA's worst senator, who is the most openly condescending towards their constituents. And Joe Manchin has been lagging slightly in that he has at least occasionally answered questions from his constituents. Now, bonus points to him for doing it from the back of his yacht, but he has actually talked to them, and I like that. But actually, we have some amazing reporting coming from TYT Investigates about how he is already profiting from what he's been doing during these negotiations. Andy Hirschfeld did a great job here, and we're gonna give you a bit of that, but it is all available at TYT. So he says Manchin's moves are helping the coal industry at large. By proposing policies that support the need for coal, that's driving up the price of coal, an otherwise dying fuel source. So far this year, the price of coal has surged approximately 260%. And the biggest jump was in the last few months. The price of coal soared by about 140% since just the beginning of July, when the third quarter started. And although Manchin's coal brokerage company Enersystems is privately traded, it still benefits from rising coal prices, and that's helping Enersystems make significantly more money than it otherwise would. For that company, the elevated price of the commodity means more money lining their pockets. That means a bump for his income in particular. Earlier this month, TYT reported that since 2011, Manchin has raked in more than $5.2 million from Enersystems. That makes up 71% of his entire investment income. And so it's easy to see how this works. If coal is worth more, that's gonna benefit the company. And what you had this year was a situation where, in theory, the death knell of coal could have been sounded. It was already becoming less competitive financially against things like wind and solar. And with the prospect of regulation of the coal industry, moving away from that in terms of people's investments, that's not gonna make it seem like a very positive investment. But Joe Manchin has sent very clear signals to people that that sort of regulation is incredibly unlikely to actually happen. And so while that benefits him down the road, his company will continue to do well, it has reassured investors, and that is benefiting him already. And we mentioned this for a couple different reasons. One, it's objectively true and you need to know what's happening, but also there has been far too little attention paid to the element of corruption in all of these negotiations, the not only campaign finance aspects of this, that sort of traditional political corruption, but also the personal political corruption. And Joe Manchin is an amazing example of that. I wanna make sure that you don't forget it.
Yeah, here's more things I wanna make sure you don't forget. In coal is only 3% of West Virginia's economy, not the US economy. It's minuscule for the US economy. West Virginia, only 3% affects only 11,000 jobs. And by the way, in the legislation that Manchin helped to kill, or the provisions that he helped to kill, they would have actually gotten those folks higher paying jobs in the transition. But now they won't be able to transition away from coal because Manchin is too busy making money off of it. As John just told you, $5.2 million of personal wealth in just the last 10 years alone. And that's a story that everybody should be writing about it. But good news, I actually saw CNN follow our reporting today and talk about, hey, turns out a couple weeks later, turns out Manchin makes money from coal. Did people know that? Good, I'll take it, right? And so look, this guy's making decisions that make him richer and the rest of us poorer. But one of my questions is, why is he the one making the decisions? So as Gillibrand is beseeching him, and there's report after report of Gillibrand and other senators chasing Manchin around the Senate and in the hallways, and I'm gonna read you just one of the tweets from Andrew Solender, who I believe works at Axios. He said, Gillibrand just lobbied Manchin intensely on paid family leave on the Senate floor. She wouldn't let him get where he wanted to go without saying her piece. And then she was heard saying, quote, if you let me write it, I will write it. I just want this in the bill. It's so cheap. Okay, now it's cheap for the American people and it pays off great for us, but it ain't cheap for Manchin. His money just went up 260%. So, but I think even the more important point is, why is Joe Manchin making every decision? Why is Gillibrand beseeching Manchin and not President Biden or the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, or maybe even talking to the House and Pelosi? She's talking to Manchin because apparently Manchin is president. And I don't know if she checked with Vice President Sinema at all, but this is what it has devolved to. And I have a question that I really need an answer to. And this is the kind of thing that DC media might care about. who's in charge? So when we say that Manchin took out paid family leave, no, but he can't take it out unilaterally. Somebody else has to make that decision. So who said to Manchin, you win, I surrender, we are not going to have paid family leave? By the way, it might be a name we don't want to hear, right? It might be, oh my God, damn it, the progressives said it was okay. Well, that would be devastating, but we're in the news business, we gotta know. But more likely, it's Biden. Well then, okay, whoever it is, they gotta own it and say, yes, I'm the one who made the decision to surrender to Joe Manchin, give him full authority, and let him take out whatever he wants from the bill.
No, it's true. I mean, I just wonder what kind of files he got on folks, because he's the one with all the leverage, and it doesn't make sense that a duly elected senator, just like him, chasing him down to get his permission. I say he's gone beyond being the president. He's the emperor at this point, because everybody is fawning over this man. I mean, how many times he's invited to the White House, him and Sinema, decisions have to be passed through them. I mean, this is really getting ridiculous. And you wanna talk about the planet is gonna get sicker. So yeah, he makes money, the planet is sicker. And then again, as we continue to say, just follow the money. If ever in doubt, just follow the money. And Senator Manchin, and he's not the only one, Senator Sinema, she's not the only one. I do believe that there are far too many Democrats really using those two as shields. That is not, it cannot be. If you have 48 Democratic senators on the same page, and you only have 2 who are not on the same page, how do we default to the 2 instead of the 48? Well, it leads us to ask even more and more questions. One of those is, who else is on the same page with them?
So let me back you up more with evidence that came in the reporting, and then then I'm going to put my finger on what I think is actually happening, which is, so first of all, when there was a question about lowering drug prices, and they were taking a lot of heat because that 9 out of 10 Americans want the provision that lowers drug prices. That's overwhelming. All the Republican voters want it. 100% of the Republican politicians do not want it. They want higher drug prices. That's a fact, okay? They say, oh, it will hurt innovation. Okay, so you have to pay literally $500 billion more. You have to pay it in higher drug prices, $500 billion, because the Republicans sold you out. But yes, Manchin and Sinema did too. But when Manchin and Sinema were taking too much heat on that, then Menendez from New Jersey raised his hand and said, oh yeah, I don't want to lower drug prices either. Okay, and why would he do that out of nowhere? Because the drug companies said, hey, Manchin and Sinema might not be enough. So now you got to go take a bullet too, okay?
Bringing in the backup players.
Yes, because we're paying you, we bribed you just as much as we bribed them. And by the way, if that doesn't work, we'll release more Democratic senators that we've bribed. And so it ain't 48, they're lying to you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, the reason I ask who's making these decisions is, it appears, according to the reporting, they leave it very vague. They say Manchin, Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, etc. got together, right? And a decision was made. First of all, if it's presumably it's Biden, he's the president, right? If Biden and Manchin are the ones negotiating, wait a minute. Don't give me this nonsense about Biden's agenda. We told you on Young Turks the day he was elected, he doesn't believe that. So 2 corporate Democrats with an incredibly similar track record in the Senate, Biden and Manchin, have agreed that their donors should get everything. What kind of negotiation is this? So Joe Biden, tell us, was it your actual agenda or wasn't it? And if it was your agenda, why were you so weak? And you gave it all away to Emperor Manchin. And so those are very uncomfortable questions. And I wish we had a press that would ask Psaki and Biden and Schumer and all those guys, who's making the decision? And Joe Biden, is it really your agenda? Are you happy to give these things away? If you're not happy to give them away, how weak are you?
Fight.
Yeah, I don't know, Cenk. You ask Psaki a question like that, you're opening yourself up to a Psaki bomb. Yeah, that's dangerous. You want to tread carefully. The last thing I want to say about this is, I think you're both totally right that we cannot allow, well, we can't, and we don't want anyone else to fall into the trap of believing that only the people who are raising their hand are the bad guys, or in some cases just walking away from protesters and hiding in bathrooms are the bad guys. It is much deeper than that. I mean, and in some cases it was very easy to see, like when they were proposing the billionaires tax, Manchin was like, that's terrible, I hate that. But a bunch of others were like, well, we need to like look at the particular wording and everything. Like they weren't supporting it. But that said, there is something a little bit special in some of these cases to people like Manchin, to people like Sinema, in that they seem far less able to be influenced by some of the traditional tools that we have. Those tools can always be overstated in their ability to influence people. Putting public pressure, trying to move the people of your state, those sorts of things, the threats of primaries and things like that. But in these cases, Manchin seems to feel, and I think there's probably some reason for him to feel, that he's got an especially safe spot there, where he does not need to worry about a bunch of negative press. Sinema acts as if she literally has no idea what representing a voter means or why you would ever do that. And whether that's because she doesn't intend to run for the seat again, she's just gonna move into some sort of corporate job, or because she somehow believes in a way that I don't think bears out in the same way as for Manchin, that she is literally immune from a primary challenge. Perhaps it's a calculus that, sure, all the Democrats seem to be frustrated with her now, but Schumer's gonna line up to support her against a primary challenge anyway. Maybe that's it. But they don't seem to be able to be pushed even an inch in the way that some others in some cases might be if you spend enough money and rally enough people.
I would say that she's already in a corporate job. So there ain't no need to run anywhere because she's already in a corporate job. And John, while I agree with everything, all of the above, I want to add one other caveat. What has not happened to those two is the full force and weight of the president of the United States of America. I've said it before, I gotta say it again. President Biden should take the West Wing, the West Virginia, and be on his way to Arizona. We have not seen that kind of pressure on these two. And right, we already know that the Republicans are rotten. They've been very clear. And one good thing that I can say about those two senators, Manchin and Sinema, which is rare I say any good thing, at least we know where they stand. See, because I can deal with somebody when I know where you stand. It's the people who are hiding behind those two that are the problem. Between President Joe Biden and the 48 other senators, and let me take our, Senator Sanders has been fighting this good fight, and maybe a couple of others. But if all of them bear down their full force and weight, and for the president, he knows what he has to deal with the Republicans. What he should not bear, without putting the heat on those two, is that from his own party, something of this magnitude and this critical moment in our nation and world's history, these two want to play games. That he got to go directly to the American people and say, hell, I'd rather deal with a Republican, because the threat is right, that Manchin will go independent or he'll be the Republican that he is out in the open.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? I had a mentor who used to say, it doesn't matter if you meant to kill me on purpose or by accident, dead is dead. So what good are those two?
Yeah. So I want to build off of that. So first of all, to John's point about Schumer, here's an easy threat. I'm not saying that it would work 100%, but it's nice to try because it might work. He could say, hey, listen, if you don't vote for us, with us, not on everything, okay, but on paid family leave, which is a layup, on prescription drug prices. And I don't know what his red lines are. He doesn't have any red lines. Schumer's also a corporatist, okay? But if he had one, if he was genuine, right? And if Biden was genuine, they would say, here's a couple of red lines you cannot cross. And if you do, it's okay, but we're gonna spend a ton of money. The most money we have, we're gonna allocate to a primary opponent against you.
That's right.
Oh, but wait a minute, aren't you supposed to protect incumbents? Not if you don't protect us.
Yeah.
This is our agenda. If you're not with our agenda, then we primary you. Now, we all know that Schumer, A, didn't do that, and B, would never do that.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not really fighting, and you're not using any of the tools that you have that at your disposal. By the way, Schumer has spent tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars against progressives in primaries.
Yes.
So it's not like he doesn't know how to use that tool. He's just choosing not to use it.
That's right.
With someone who is corrupt, and they know it. So, and by the way, who protects all these guys? The mainstream media. Did any of them explain to you how Schumer's protecting Manchin and Sinema? No, they didn't, right?
Yeah.
So now, what could Biden do? This is what Nina said in a power hour we did for the members a couple of weeks ago. She had a mentor that said, look, and this is political, not literal, right?
Right.
But look, if we're gonna fight, and Biden could say this to Manchin if he actually meant it, if it was really his agenda, if we're gonna fight and there's gonna be blood on the floor, some of yours and some of mine, but it's gonna be more of yours than mine.
That's right.
And so that's how you actually play hardball. So look, I'll go further. If it was me, or probably if it was Nina, right? I would say, hey, listen, Joe, here's what's gonna happen, okay? Here's my red lines, you cross them, and that's okay, we fight. And the way we fight is I spend the rest of my presidency telling the American people about what a corrupt, and then fill in a number of blanks there, okay, that I would use.
Yes,
right?
please.
And how corrupt you are, Joe. And what's gonna happen is I'm going to absolutely ruin your reputation. Yeah, okay, you killed my bill. Okay, hey, we got blood on the floor. It's okay, right? Yeah. But you're not gonna walk out of this place without everybody in America thinking that you're the worst person who's ever been in the Senate. Yeah. And by the way, your son and their coal company and all that money you're making, the stock went up, or the coal prices went up 260% based on what you did. I wonder if that's insider trading. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Oh, your daughter walked away with a $30 million golden parachute while she outsourced jobs. Now look, guys, you can say, oh, you can't do that. His poor daughter's only making $30 million outsourcing jobs. You can't threaten their corruption like that. Why? Who would say that? None of you would say that. The right wingers wouldn't say that. The left wingers wouldn't say that. The only people who would say that are the people who think it's outrageous to challenge corruption. Yeah. So you know Biden doesn't really mean it. Schumer and Pelosi don't actually mean it. But look, I'll take anything that's even cynical if it's going towards our direction. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.